In this video, I am going to dive into abandoned cart and checkout flows. So these are the exact templates that I start all of my clients with whenever I first get my hands on a new list. I've used them for 7, 8, and 9-figure companies, and really, this is where I start with all of my clients. So it's a template that I will show you how to edit, optimize, and then split test going down the road. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm the founder of Yates Digital Marketing. We've done 8 figures in email marketing results for health and supplement brands and a lot of other consumable brands. And we focus on copy-centric emails. So we're not the usual design-heavy, giant Figma wall of graphics emails. We do a lot more relationship building, retention focus, and typically that means we're relying on copy-centric emails. So let's dive into this. So any brand that I work with, I start out with an audit, and it's rare that I see that these two flows are properly optimized or even working the way that they're supposed to. So most brands I get into, I see the same thing. They have Klaviyo's abandoned cart flow, and I say that with air quotes because typically it's an abandoned checkout, which I'll explain here in just a moment. But they usually have one of these in place, which is an abandoned cart title with an abandoned cart, abandoned checkout trigger in place. So getting into the big difference here, it's really important to have both of these in place. So most brands are, they're clueless is a harsh word, but they don't understand the difference between a cart and a checkout. So here's an example of a prospect's buying journey in the perfect world, and then I'll show you what it looks like in the real world. So they read an email and they click a product link. They land on your product page, they read a little bit, and then they decide to add your product to their cart. After that, they navigate to the cart and they proceed to checkout. So 2 different steps there. And then they complete their checkout. That's the perfect world. We don't live in a perfect world, as you know. So here's what happens in your prospect's buying journey, most likely. They read an email and click a product link. They land on your page and they read a bit. They get a text from their spouse asking if they want to cook dinner tonight or have them bring home something. And then they leave your website and reply to that text. They open Instagram and they start doom scrolling. Then they remember your product and they go back to the page for a brief second. They decide to add that item to their cart. Then they open TikTok and start doom scrolling there. Then their spouse texts again that the grocery store doesn't have the favorite brand of Cabernet that they wanted, and they reply with a different option for their spouse. They put their phone down and start getting ready to cook dinner, and they never return to your product page again. Guess what happens? This is not going to trigger your abandoned cart flow, again, air quotes, because you've set up with the default trigger from Klaviyo, which is actually started checkout. If you remember right, in the first example, they add the product to the cart and then they go to cart and proceed to checkout. 2 different steps. Here, all they did was add the item to the cart. If you don't have that proper trigger set up, this is not going to trigger your flows. So that's really the big difference here, and that example should demonstrate it for you. So abandoned checkout is step number 2 in this process. Your prospect must proceed to checkout from their cart and to trigger what 99% of brands I've worked with deem as their abandoned cart flow. So this is what it looks like. This is a brand called Gorilla Mind, really cool brand. I'm a big fan of theirs. This is what the cart looks like. It has a big checkout button. So right here, this is an abandoned cart trigger. Until we click checkout, abandoned checkout does not happen. Hopefully that is clear for you. That's why you need these 2 flows. So moving on to each individual flow, this is how you set these up. And this is the, everything you're going to need is in this doc here. So goal of the flow here is to get the reader to finish the order that they left in the cart. So remember, this is step 1. I typically rely on about 3 to 6 emails in length. My offer is a delayed discount code. So I think it's important, and I've seen this, work over and over again. As usual, split test this with your own brand, but I like to delay the discount. I remind them a few times, 2 to 3 times, as you'll see in the copy, to finish their order, because the intent is super high. That's the main thing to look at and remember with these kinds of flows. The prospect has a really high buyer intent. They're very, very close to the finish line. Sometimes it's just a simple reminder. We don't have to use anything other than that reminder to actually get them off the fence and across to buying. So that's kind of the big thing whenever you think of these offers and whenever you test offers is save your big, artillery for the last chance kind of thing. So I like to use a simple reminder at first, which this is going to get a handful of buyers to say, oh yeah, I forgot to put my phone down whenever I went to go cook dinner and I didn't finish my cart order. And then towards the end of that flow, we can come back with our bigger artillery, our big guns. We could say, hey, for 48 hours, we're going to create urgency and say, hey, for 48 hours, we've got this discount for you, and we really want you to finish your order, blah, 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 blah. Standard copy there. Profile filters, these are a bit subjective, but this is kind of the standard for what we use. Smart sending turned off. And in this video here, which I'm not going to show you now, you can click on this and watch it on your own. You're going to want your dynamic abandoned cart and checkout blocks. So each one of these is going to be separate, but it'll pull in what they were looking at. And I recommend you add these to your flows and your emails. So here's an example flow cadence. Again, split test all of this. Like what I'm showing you, this varies per client, which means it's going to vary for your brand as well. Don't just blindly copy everything I'm showing you here. But this is kind of a good starting point that you can, 1, set up your flow, 2, set up your time delays, and then 3, set up what your email content has. So these are just some examples of what you could put in that email. So after that, this is going to be a quick video that you can watch setting up the actual flow. And then here are swipe files for you. So I'm a nice guy. I decided to make this super easy for you. If you click on these, you will have an entire flow for each one. So this little box here, open a new tab, that'll give you a flow for each one. As you click on them, they'll open in a different tab, which of course I clicked the wrong recording and I'm only recording this tab. But it will walk you through all of these and you'll have emails and everything you need built out in these templates. So I've varied the brands, but again, I work in the consumable niche, so they are mostly focused on that. But I do have an apparel brand in here that I work with as a client. So this should be broad enough for you to go in, look at all 3 of them. Don't just look at one and copy it blindly. Pull the ones, read through all the emails and pull out the ones that you like and think fit your brand. So, again, don't blindly copy these. There are things in there that are written in a certain way for those brands. So, put your unique spin on it, put your brand voice on it. And if you have issues with that, reach out to me. Let me know. I can help you out there. But yeah, you have, I don't know, something like 18, 20 something emails that you can pull from here, all examples that are tested and proven and work in these kinds of flows. So that is your abandoned cart flow. Remember, this is step 1. So this is what would trigger in something like this before they click the checkout button. Next up, they're going to move to checkout abandonment, as you guessed. So the goal here is to get the reader to finish the order, obviously. Length, 3 to 6 emails. Again, delayed discount. Trigger is started checkout. So big difference here. Trigger here, add it to cart, custom metric. You're going to have to go through Klaviyo or whatever ESP instructions you need. Build that metric out yourself for abandoned cart. Checkout is much easier. This is most likely if you just installed your ESP, most likely Klaviyo for most people watching this. If you installed their standard abandoned cart, you already have the checkout in place. So all you need to do is swap the title on this and then run with that current flow. Profile filters, place order 0 times, has not been in the flow. So what's going to happen here is as they proceed from cart to checkout, they'll trigger this one instead, and it won't trigger your abandoned cart flow. So smart sending off. Again, this is how you set up that dynamic checkout block for this, which we're going to want to drop into the emails. Here's an example cadence for you. So going through this real quick, this is a split test. I think I always run this first email split test. You can resend to people that don't open, those kinds of things. Those are all good tests that you should run every couple of weeks to make sure this is an optimized flow. Email 2, reminder plus overcoming objections. Email 3, same thing, just different objections. Rotate those, quick reminders. Email 4, we're going to introduce our special offer. Email 5, reminder of the offer, give them reasons to buy. So this is reason why copy. Throw in some social proof here. Works really well whenever we're trying to give them a reason to buy, and then use storytelling as well. So this is going to be your bread and butter offer right here. So whatever your best offer is, run it for 48 hours. That's going to be what gets them over the fence if they don't buy in the beginning, where we're just reminding them like, hey, Don't forget to finish your checkout. Here's some big objections. Yeah. So video walkthrough here that shows you how to set up the proper abandoned checkout trigger, the flows, the delays, everything there. And then again, I've got everything you need to swipe from right here. So swipe files built out for you. You can steal my copy, edit it, and again, you're off and running within an hour or so. You should be able to build all of this out and go through all three of these again. Like I said, we've got an apparel brand, hair care niche, and actually this is I think I might need to swap that link. So this is supposed to be a supplement brand. So I'll get that swapped out before this goes live. But so you'll have supplement, hair care, and an apparel brand. But yeah, each one of these has varying styles of copy in it, but it's the same general layout you'll notice for most. Strategy remains the same. Copy slightly varies, is the way that I do this, and I recommend you do the same. So grab what emails you like from these. Keep the strategy the same, at least in the beginning, until you have some data. Run it for at least 30 days, and then start split testing your own things against it. That is kind of the way that I always start with these clients, like I mentioned. So grab these emails, put your personal touch on them. Don't just copy what I've written. You can keep the general layout the same, the general styles and everything the same, but it's going to need your brand voice on it and your unique selling points in it. So make sure you edit those properly. So you've got the flows, abandoned checkout, abandoned cart. You know how to set them up. You know the triggers, the delays, the profile filters, everything you need. From there, like I said, once you've got data, you want to move on to advanced optimization. So this is really where this is what's going to separate how good your flows perform from your competition. So most brands that I see, I'll get in there and these flows have not been edited in like 2 years. They haven't been touched. They just set it and forget it, and that's it. These flows, like your big ones, welcome, browse, abandoned cart, abandoned checkout, they should be having split tests ran in them. That was horrible grammar, but you should be running split tests within these flows and constantly optimizing these. So with our clients at the agency, we're pulling every single Monday. We're reporting on current split tests we're running, current split tests we're setting up or plan to set up, and the results that we're getting. So oftentimes these are happening in these 4 flows. So what I recommend, I understand that this is like, a lot of you are either running your own lists, you're a founder, CEO, smaller brand, you can't afford to hire an agency like mine yet. Totally fine. Don't let this overwhelm you. Okay. So these are the things that you can work on that are not that difficult to set up and run a proper split test. So most of our split tests are looking at offers, time delays, open rates, and click-through rates. These are the things, and we're going to test one at a time. For example, the first thing I'm looking at, if I have 6 emails in an abandoned cart flow and they're all getting 30, 40, 50% open rates, and then we have a random outlier email that's getting an 18% open rate, I'm going to try to work on that. I'm going to split test new subject lines. I'm going to split test timing. I'm going to split test a few different things to where I'm trying to get that open rate up. If you do the math on these things and look at how many people per month are going through your flows and then extrapolate that out to the entire year, these little bitty tweaks really, really add up, especially on things like your welcome flow. I mean, some brands are adding 500 emails per day. Some brands are adding, 10, 20, 30,000 emails per month. If you can optimize these little bitty tweaks, like getting a 5 or 10% bump in open rates, your conversion rates are going to go through the roof as far as like on a chart scale. So think of these as in, yes, it's not sexy to sit there and split test things, and it's not fun, and it's kind of just really a monotonous thing. But these little bitty tweaks over time, they really begin to snowball into a flow that is fully dialed in and performing like crazy. So that's kind of just a quick little rant there on why this actually matters and why you shouldn't neglect this once you've got things set up. Next up, I'm looking at, so we looked at open rates. That's the first thing. Click-through rates. So your CTR is a big one. So if I've got, 1.5% click-through rates in most emails, and I got a random one that's like 0.3, that's a prime spot to vary my call to actions, vary the way the email looks, vary the copy, vary a straight hyperlink versus a button. Like those kinds of things can all tweak your CTR, and they're very easy split tests to run. You just take you maybe 5 minutes to set up that kind of thing. Another one I already mentioned, but like time delays. Look at as I mentioned, like on these here, email one, test it 30 minutes versus 2 hours. Like that's a simple split test I run with all my clients. Each list is different, so run that split test. Another one is offers. So let's say you've gone through the rest of these, you've optimized open rates, everything's getting open, you're getting a bunch of good clicks, everything looks pretty good. Now you can start split testing offers. Like, can you run an abandoned cart flow with no discount at all? Get a full margin purchase, and you're actually getting like the same conversion rate, just higher margins. You're going to make more money. Can you send a completely different offer, like free shipping instead of 10% off? Those kinds of things are just really reason why copy that give you something to talk about in your flows. But you can, whatever your goal is as an individual brand or list manager, you can tweak your offers to match that goal and then hopefully increase your conversion rate for these bigger emails. So, don't let split testing overwhelm you. It sounds crazy. It's not that crazy. If you need some help setting that stuff up or coming up with ideas, feel free to reach out to me and bounce those ideas off of me. But, again, like this is something super, super, super important. It should be, number one on your radar, that these little incremental improvements, make it a goal just to run one split test every week and run it for whatever it is, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is. Set a reminder in your project manager or to-do list, check it in 2 to 4 weeks, and, run with the winner there. Most of these can be set up to where the winner automatically runs, but you should go back and test it for your own data and knowledge, because if it worked in the abandoned cart flow, it's probably going to work out in your checkout flow too, because they're very similar. It's just 2 different steps. So remember, run these split tests, incremental improvements. They're going to equal drastic results, and they're compounding over time. So good luck. Happy testing. Let me know if you need anything there. And lastly, if this is all overwhelming to you, I am totally open to a conversation. If you're the right fit and you're in a place to hire an agency like mine, let me know, reach out to me, and we will have that conversation. So again, let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.